Our second question to Mr. Carlisle, you're going to have the first opportunity to answer this. The question is, do you support shutting down the Waimanalo Gulch? Or if not, what is your alternative plan? First question on the landfill, Mr. Caldwell.
Okay, so the question is, what are we doing with our Opala? And, you know, it's actually a pretty good story that's getting better. Right now, about 40% of the Opala that we all generate, we all have a responsibility for this, is being diverted to other uses. And with the third boiler that you've heard others talk about, it's going to come online in 2012, is going to reduce the amount of Opala going into Waimanalo Gulch down to 40%. When that happens, we will lead the nation of major cities in terms of Opala diversion to other uses, and we can all be very, very, very proud of that. When that third boiler comes online, we're going to stop importing $80 million worth of oil that otherwise comes in here. And guess what? Our purchase of that oil goes somewhere else. It doesn't stay in our state, it doesn't stay in our county to help generate jobs. And so it is very good news. We're also working on 4 RFPs, requests for proposals, that we believe when they come in will reduce the amount of Opala going into our landfill to just 20%. We'll be so far out in front of every other municipality, it will be amazing. And I think at some point, we'll be like many countries in Europe and in Asia that no longer have a need for a landfill. I am committed, and I'm committed as your mayor, to reduce the everyday need for a landfill. So it just remains open for when we have a natural disaster like another hurricane where we need to put our debris somewhere. We're going to get there, and we're going to get there with all of you helping. And it's a good story. It's not doom and gloom. Shipping is a short-term solution. Costs energy to take it somewhere else. We're going to use it here for energy generation, so our dollars stay here. Thank you very much.
Okay, now it's time to move on to the third question.
The key to getting rid of the problems that we've got at the Waimanalo Gulch is right now we have 900,000 tons of what we used to call garbage, but now we politely call municipal solid waste. And the burners at H-Power only succeed in getting rid of 600,000 tons. When the third burner goes online, which will be in about 2011, it's a better burner than the ones that we've got right now. It will take care of the other 300,000 pounds of solid municipal waste. There will always be a need for a landfill. When we're using the H-Power plants, what we're doing is recycling. We're turning basically garbage into energy. There's other uses for garbage. The most important thing that we can do, one as a community and 2 as individuals, is for us to stop creating the problem. To recycle everything that we can, to educate everybody on what they're doing, to have people who are composting in their yards, to have people who have worm farms and all sorts of strange things like that, and to stop sitting and putting this stuff always in the garbage can and waiting it to go. I have 1 minute or I'm through. Thank you very much. You're looking lovely today, by the way. The answer to that, so we have to change our own attitudes. The other thing is we have to make available for people those places where they can recycle. I am from, not around here, the great and glorious Garden State of New Jersey. We used to every week have to go and take stuff to have it recycled. Those are the kinds of disciplines we're going to have to get involved in. If we don't do that, we are going to be wasting precious lands that we cannot afford to lose under any circumstances, and let's go do it.
Honolulu is always going to need a landfill, especially for natural disasters and emergencies. However, we can do more to minimize the amount of waste we create. We need to recycle more. We need to expand the comprehensive recycling program to apartments and commercial facilities. What can't be recycled and whatever cannot be recycled should sustain our waste-to-energy facility, the third boiler and H-Power. Non-recyclable materials can also be shipped. This would reduce our dependency on a landfill dramatically. In the meantime, the city needs to look for a future landfill site, mainly for ash and in the case of emergencies. My time on the City Council shows both my support for the environment and my experience with city services. My voting record reflects that I've always supported curbside recycling and a comprehensive solid waste management program. I also co-introduced legislation that would have banned plastic bags and introduced legislation that will provide tax incentives for companies that manufacture recyclable materials such as styrophobia. Finally, we need to pursue new technologies and implement our long-term solid waste master plan. This will use taxpayer money efficiently. Although the city and county will always need a landfill, we must do more to recycle now, reduce the amount of trash, and move forward with renewable energy. Mahalo.
Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you, Howard. This is, of course, trash management is a very major issue in our community, and there are very clear solutions. The Waimanalo Gulch basically needs to close or remain open only for the fly ash from the H-power plant. No more trash. If we have a hurricane or other calamity, then we can use the PVT landfill for demolition materials. What is the rest of our solution besides the H-power plant? The H-power plant should not be expanded. It is very old technology, not very friendly technology, and of course it burns a lot of diesel to mix it with the trash to create electricity. Our solution is actually quite obvious, and we're about to start it tomorrow. Exportation. It may sound like it's a harebrained idea, but trash exportation is a very good deal for us. Remember that all the containers that they go back to the mainland are 90% empty. We basically can pay a very low fee to package our trash and send it out. We are an island community in the middle of nowhere. We are a net importer of everything. It's time to export some of what we import. And of course, in addition to recycling, the big part that is missing here and nobody is incentivizing is remanufacture. Because everybody here is calling for recycling, and guess what? We spend thousands of gallons of diesel to send them back to the mainland or to China. It's about time that we reuse what we recycle. We are not even smart enough to shred the tires and put them in our pavements. I'll stop here, and later on I can give you more of a lecture on this subject because, hey, pavements as a transportation engineer, I know a thing or two. Thank you.
Let me begin by saying that we know concretely that we have a solid waste program, a problem. Everybody knows that. We don't have to bring it out and say we do have a problem. But what are we going to do about it? When I first got into the city council in the second year, I was the chairman for Public Works Committee. And we were faced with a problem to find another landfill. Former Mayor Jeremy Harris threw at us 5 sites. And I called it a cop-out. A cop-out because he didn't want to choose one site because of the community fears of politics. And otherwise he would be chastised by one community to the other. Well, we in the committee, I took the committee out in the public hearings in Kapolei and Windward side, and even with the urban Honolulu. And we found out more in terms of what we could do with technology. But unfortunately, we didn't want to spend the money in technology to reduce our solid waste. There's different ways of reducing that, but unfortunately, we were not brave enough to do that. I feel that we should be brave enough to do that. Let me also say that recycling is good. We can do a number of other things. Technology is not the answer. It is a tool to get rid of your problem, basically. And as we looked at in terms of using Waimanalo Gulch as a temporary site, and that was a recommendation of the City Council, we looked at in terms of what is the future lives. And I tell you quite honestly, the future landfill site proposal, which did not come out openly because we want the mayor to address it and take it on and address it in terms of how we're going to do it, because it takes 5 years to build a landfill site, is Kapa'a. Kapa'a and the Windward site. And why is a big hole. It's being leased by Amron right now. When Amron leaves in about 5 years, what's going to happen? They're going to have to fill that hole, but they can't fill it with rocks and dirt. We'll have to buy it and use it for landfill. Thank you.
All right, finally wrap up the first